Sawadee Kap and good morning. Hello, my name is Brian Hoffman. I am a guide here at Turnstile Tours. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us for our second in a series of 4 virtual programs called Thai Food in America, Passport to the Northeast. We're hosting these every Wednesday morning through June 2nd. And this series is a series of programs sponsored by Thai Select USA. And we are exploring Thai cuisine and culture in the United States, specifically doing a deep dive into the stories of the Thai communities and restaurants here within the Northeast of the United States. We started our series last week, so if you didn't see our program last week, it was all about Thai ingredients and how they make their way from Thailand to your local restaurant and home kitchen, so be sure to check that out. I do want to let you know that we encourage interaction and would love to hear your feedback and questions and comments. And we'll be dropping links in to the chat, and that's where you can drop in your questions as well. Excuse me. So you can just click on the chat there, and my colleague Amanda is in the background handling all that, dropping in links and answering any questions that we are not able to send us, but she will certainly send questions directly to myself and to our guests today as well. So she's going to also drop in a link to where you can view our previous Thai program, and we have a few more upcoming. So as I mentioned last week, May 12th, which is now passed, but you can view it through the link you'll see on the chat. We learned all about how Thai ingredients got to our plate. Next week, you can still reserve your ticket to find out stories about families and communities and local recipes here in New York City. We will be joined with Queens expert Joe DiStefano, and we will be visiting 2 restaurants, one in Queens and one in Brooklyn. And then our final program is on June 2nd. We're going to get a language lesson from Professor Teacher Ho, a Thai language lesson. So you'll be able to learn some Thai, and then we're heading live to Bangkok to visit international favorite restaurant Sam Tam Dur, which has locations here in New York and also in Bangkok and in other parts around the world as well. So don't forget to tune in then June 2nd. And this is not the only part of before I tell you about that, let me tell you about our upcoming virtual programs, because as some of you may know, we don't only explore the Thai communities. We tell all sorts of stories and connect with businesses and partners and people all over telling undertold stories. So we are continuing our virtual program series. As you see, upcoming tomorrow at 6 p.m., we're going to be talking about the history of the Connecticut River and its canals. Saturday, May 22nd, to celebrate National Maritime Day, we are doing a trivia night. So that will be super fun. And then next week, Thursday, the 27th at 6 p.m., we're going to be talking about the history of social housing in New York City. And coming up in June, which is crazy, just around the corner, June 10th, we're exploring Olmsted Beale House out on Staten Island to learn about where Frederick Law Olmsted started his career. So that's then. We'll be doing a tour and a panel on then. And we are so excited to announce that we're back in person. We're slowly getting back out there. So if you'd like to join us in person, of course, safely outdoors, we are doing Prospect Park walking tours on weekends at 10:30 a.m. All of the details about all of these are on our website. And then Sundays, beginning at the end of the month, we're starting our Brooklyn Navy Yard bicycle tours again. And then we have 2 special upcoming in-person tours. We've got a military history harbor tour on Memorial Day, which will be an amazing day on the water, so on the harbor. And then on Saturday, June 19th, we are going to be doing a sketch and walk through Prospect Park. So you don't want to miss those. And here's some details if you would like to join us for some of our other virtual programs. As I mentioned, we have a few coming up, and I'm sure we'll be announcing more shortly. This is the different tiers you could sign up for membership. So I started to announce, in addition to these Thai programs, we also have created a virtual map exploring the Northeast through Thai cuisine, through Thai communities. And so there is a link for you to explore that. There'll be videos and stories throughout that. And it's really a neat way to, and if you're traveling through the Northeast, you can find out the best Thai Select USA restaurants to visit up and down. So, so that's a little bit about that. Also wanted to let you know, if you're calling in today, again, my name is Brian. I am a white male, early 40s, wearing glasses and a gray collared shirt today. And so today, our program is called a function and I totally forgot the name of it. That's okay. That happens. But today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be learning about Thai American history, culture, and we are going to be seeing an interview with Dr. Mark Padoongpatt, who is the Associate Professor and Director of Asian and Asian American Studies at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. We have been able to record an interview with him. He's also written this book, Flavors of Empire, Food and the Making of Thai America, which we highly recommend to you to read to further explore the topics he'll be discussing today. So we're gonna watch an interview that my colleague Cindy and I conducted with him last week. And then after that, we are actually going live to 2 restaurants in the DC and greater Baltimore area. We're going to be visiting Bangkok Joe's in Georgetown, Washington, DC, and meeting Chef Aulie. And then we will be heading to outside of Baltimore in the suburbs in Towson, Maryland, Sireenuch Tengamnuary, who is the owner of Absolute Thai-Sushi and Thai Landing. And so we will be getting some cooking demos and learning about their story and their journeys here to the US as well. So again, please do drop anything in to the chat. Function and Fusion is the name of the program today. Sorry, I knew it's early morning and my brain is starting to come together finally. So without further ado, I would like to present the interview with Dr. Mark Padoongpatt, and I think you'll find this really enlightening and interesting. So here we go. And any questions as we go, please do drop them into the chat box.
So I think I should probably start with that I'm Thai American. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. My parents immigrated from Thailand in the late 1970s. My father from Bangkok and my mother actually from Ayutthaya. And they came separately. They met in LA, and I grew up in Los Angeles. And so as a Thai American, you know, one of the things I sort of, which is I think a common story for a lot of children of immigrants, right? Like, you know, trying to find my identity as a Thai American, right? And so I'm gonna fast forward to, you know, college. I went to the University of Oregon, became really interested in Asian American history, and, you know, was turned on to writing a dissertation and going to graduate school to write the first history of Thai Americans in Los Angeles. And, you know, I had a lot of professors who encouraged me and supported me along the way. But the funny thing about this whole, you know, topic, or the how I came to writing about food, is that I didn't want to write about food at all. It was something that I had grown up with and that I had become associated with quite often. And so I really wanted to write a book about Thai Americans, a history of Thai Americans outside of food, right? Like I wanted to say, my point was there's this whole other history that people don't know about, and all we talk about is Thai food. But then I started to realize that a lot of the things that I was interested in exploring within the Thai American community, which is immigration, you know, suburbanization, identity, community, it's all obviously wrapped up with food, and that I could use food as an entry point or a window to talk about all the things that I felt were really important. You know, again, labor exploitation, immigration, all those issues, globalization, as you mentioned. And so that's how, you know, when I was at USC as a graduate student, it went from just a book about Thai Americans or a dissertation about Thai Americans to then, you know, let me focus on the food as a way to kind of tie all of these themes together. And so that's how I eventually came to write about the history of Thai food, going from not wanting to do it at all to, writing an entire book on the way Thai food became important to Thai American identity and community in LA. So I think the first thing, just to kind of offer up the broadest context is, the reason Thai people came to the United States, and when they did was because of US foreign policy interests in Southeast Asia, especially right after World War II, where, the US was concerned about the spread of communism. So they intervene into Thailand because they feel like that's the place where they can combat the growth of communism in Southeast Asia. So the major reason why Thai people even came here is because those connections were made in that period. And so when the first kind of wave of Thai immigrants comes during that period, so the 1950s and 60s, you get a lot of Thai male students from Bangkok who come, and they make up kind of the first cohort. A lot of students. So they come to study in the United States in colleges and universities. And then by the 1970s and 80s, you get the second and third waves, which are more women, more Thais from, so they make up the workforce for a lot of the service sector jobs in the United States. And so that's kind of a quick demographic profile of the kinds of Thai people that are coming in when they come. And just to add in there as well, there's a lot of Thais who come with student visas and tourist visas, but then they kind of eventually overstay those visas. And they play a critical role in the food culture in Thai American, in Thai restaurant culture in Los Angeles, because that's the majority labor force. Is a lot of these students, and who eventually then become kind of undocumented workers. And so they're here, right? They're in LA, 1950s, 1960s. One of the things that students and workers, alike, one of the things that they really struggle with is that the food is just not the same, right? Like they really miss Thai flavors. And I think in my book, I talk about yum, right, as the Thai flavor profile that they crave, and that's that balance of spicy, salty, sweet, sour, that wonderful balance that I think is the essence in some ways of Thai cuisine, is missing. And so there's no Thai ingredients. There are some Chinese ingredients that they can use, but there's no fish sauce, there's no bai makrut, there's no canned good, there's just no Thai ingredients. So at that moment, the 1960s, Thais in LA, Thai immigrants try to get Southeast Asian and Thai ingredients in a couple of ways. The first is, they smuggle it in with with their personal affects, right? So when they're coming from Thailand, they just throw some stuff into their suitcases, bring it over for personal use, right? Or to try to grow it at home. And you were allowed to bring some stuff, right? So it was smuggling, but it was, you were allowed to bring it for your own personal use. So that was one way. And then the second way was to, and this is, really, really interesting, is to just try to recreate and use and substitute, right? So going to Chinatown and getting soy sauce to try to use it in place of fish sauce. And so it was just being, I guess, creative in those ways, using cayenne pepper instead of Thai chili, right? To at least try to replicate some of the spiciness. And you can tell all this from, if you look at some of the cookbooks in the 1960s, you can see what ingredients were and were not available, and what kinds of ingredients people were using to substitute. Anchovy paste, I need to say that one. Anchovy paste instead of fish sauce, right? So just, you had the smuggling going on, you had, the substitutions of ingredients. And then somewhere in the late 1960s, a group of Thai women discovered a Baimakru tree in Riverside, which is about 60 miles away from downtown LA. And they would make these weekend pilgrimages to go to this tree and then pick the leaves off of the Baimakru trees and then take them back home and freeze them to use. And Baimakru, otherwise known as kaffir lime leaves, that's really the basis for a lot of Thai cooking. It's the basis for Thai curry paste, for nam pik pao, which you use for tom yum soup. So that provides, a kind of authentic, if we want to use that word, right? It was authentic to them. So an authentic Thai flavor. And so there were all kinds of ways, and they wouldn't be able to get Southeast Asian and Thai ingredients until the 1970s with the opening of the Bangkok market. And Pramod Tilaka Mongkun opens the Bangkok market in East Hollywood, also starts an import-export company. And so, import-export companies are pivotal to Southeast Thai ingredients to the United States. And so that early 1970s is when the doors really open, and it becomes widely available. You can get anything in this grocery store that you can cook at home, but then you can also use for your restaurants if you wanted to open a restaurant. I think the first thing to be said is, I think there is a dominant kind of Thai restaurant menu, or that has become representative of Thai food, right? And that's reflective of central Thai cooking. We have, or royal Thai cooking, right? What the what people in central Thailand would cook, and that was, it's your standard menu of pad Thai, curries, stir-fried noodles. And so that has become kind of the typical menu that you would find, or that has come to stand in for Thai food. And that really starts in, the 1970s and 80s, at least in LA. And I think it builds out and grows out from LA. And, initially the first Thai restaurants and what Americans came to see as Thai food was Thai Chinese food. So a lot of Thai restaurant owners opened up as Thai Chinese to try to say, hey, you're all familiar with this Chinese food and flavors. And then when they would come in, it would slip them, some Thai food and say, well, try this, right? And so I think there's a little bit of like, American perceptions of Thai food was that it's maybe Chinese or is related to kind of a Chinese dishes. But then by the 1980s, Jonathan Gold, the prolific food writer, begins to, for at least an American audience, right, begins to say, hey, this is not what, this is not the Chinese, it's certainly not Chinese food. And it's not what you think of as kind of typical Asian food. Thai food is its unique thing on its own. And so it's really in the 70s and 80s that Americans come to see Thai food through that standard menu. But, I think even then in the 80s, Thai restaurants in LA, they were already making like interesting culinary decisions that showed that they were also trying to evolve, I guess is the word, or play around with, be creative with Thai cuisine. I mean, you had some chefs in West Hollywood, Beverly Hills area, right? Like it's during the aerobics generation. So you had some Thai restaurateurs who were like, you can switch your proteins, right? And I can make these dishes with tofu instead of meat. And, tofu is not a central protein in Thai cooking. We use it, but it's not, it's not like the main thing in the dish. And so they were making those changes, introducing brown rice, right, as a substitute for white rice, which is not something that, is found in Thai food culture as well. So this was already happening in the 1980s, but, all of that was kind of, outside of what Americans typically thought of as Thai cuisine. And that came to be in part because, Thai Chinese restaurants, but then also I think Thai restaurateurs, stuck with really kind of what they felt like was a safe menu. And I think that's true for a lot of immigrant restaurateurs, right? Like you have to play it safe, not just because it's economically viable and it makes good sense economically, but you have to play it safe because, there's a fear that how is this food going to reflect you as a person, and how is it going to reflect your community? So you can certainly, but it's risky to try to do something that's really different and unique, because you run the risk of then someone saying, what is this weird thing that you're cooking? So I think they pretty stuck to that kind of, here's what works, here's the menu, and what worked well was set in the 1980s. I mean, we look now and there's all kinds of regional variations. And that's been taking place for a couple of decades, but you have Northern Thai food, Isan cuisine, Southern Thai cooking styles that are being introduced. And so I think that second generation Thai chefs like Chris Yen Bamrung, who are just trying to expand their own creative culinary vision of what Thai food means, but also just really break that notion of authenticity, right? So you have just a lot of chefs who are like, what I'm cooking is authentic, right? What my grandmother taught me is authentic. It doesn't have to meet the idea of what is authentic to American society, but what I'm making is authentic to me. It's authentic to my roots, whether those roots go back to Southern Thailand or to LA, that this is authentic. And I think that that's a really important and interesting shift, for the listeners out there who just really want, a kind of very interesting firsthand sense of how Thai food has evolved from the 1960s to now. Go pick up Marie Wilson's Siamese Cookery. It was the very first Thai cookbook published in the United States. And I know it's called Siamese Cookery, but it was published in 1965, and it was written by a white American woman from West Los Angeles. And if you just are able to get your hands on that kind of or what was, Marie Wilson believed, like, hey, this might be something the American consumer or the American eater might be interested in. And you'll get a sense of the kinds of ingredients that she was using, the kinds of ingredients that were available at the time in the United States in order to cook Thai food. And you get some glimpses of Thai voices because, she had a lot of Thai friends, and there's some moments where you get a sense of what Thai people were telling her that she could and could not use in her Thai cooking. So if you're interested in just like I just want to know ingredient wise, like how far we've come or how much it's evolved, I think if you can use that as a starting point, you'll really see the kind of changes and evolution in terms of ingredients, flavors, and dishes.
Really, really fascinating, huh? So you can actually purchase Mark's book to learn more through the link that we dropped in, and also that other cookbook that he mentioned, Siamese Cookery, if you want a little glimpse at the history of Thai American cooking. Yeah, it really just incredible to have him as a resource and to get to chat with him. We also have the full interview. That was just a clip of our interview. It's about 25 minutes total, and you can view the entire thing on our Thai virtual program page, which again is in the chat. There's lots of links to all of that. So now that we have a little bit of context about the history of Thai food in America and Thai immigration, we're going to get to meet two chefs who have restaurants in the DC, Baltimore area. So first we're going to head to Washington, DC, and we're going to meet Chef Aulie Bunyarataphan, who has been elevating Thai cuisine through her two restaurants. and she uses both traditional cooking methods blended with innovative techniques to bring exciting Thai and fusion dishes to American audiences. So we are going to Bangkok Joe's to meet Chef Aulie. So Chef Aulie, welcome to the program. And she is joining us from the restaurant. There you are. We just need you to unmute, and then we can hear you. Okay, I think we...
Okay.
Here we are. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. You're at Bangkok Joe's right now. Is that right?
Yes. Right.
And it's your second restaurant after Thai in Shirlington, which is also still open. But tell us about the concept of Bangkok Joe's and where does that name come from, Bangkok Joe's? Oh, we don't have your sound. I think we need to have you unmute.
All right. I did unmute.
I know Chef Aulie's daughter is helping her out here as well. I think we hear you now. Great.
You can hear me now? Okay.
We can hear you perfectly. This is great.
All right.
Did you
name
hear
Bangkok Joe's?
Please. Yes.
Okay. I got that questions a lot. Like, who's Joe's?
Yeah.
No, he's not my husband. My husband is Mel. The Bangkok Joe's is actually because of its locations. It's in the mix of tourist locations, upscale neighbors, and college university. It's in the Georgetown, Washington Harbor. So we decided to do the upscale street food with all rice bowl, noodle bowls, dumpling, small plates. And there's a section that I call NYOJ to emphasize that like Bangkok is the suggestive names that it is Thai restaurants, and Joe's to me is like American common names for like pizza joints, burger joints. We wanted to be more like my husband will say it's Thai chef interpretations of American melting pot cuisine. That's the phrase that probably everyone understand.
Yes. I forgot to ask you, we do have some people calling in. So could you just, before we continue, describe yourself? So for anyone that is not able to see you that can...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
I'm Aulie Bunyarataphan. I'm the chef owner of Bangkok Joe restaurants. And I have my previous restaurants. This is my second one.
Okay, and so you said, so you came from Bangkok originally, and what brought you to the United States?
Yeah, I'm from Bangkok, Thailand, and I was here in 1985 after I graduated from high school. I was sent it here instead of Paris doing fashions to stay with my cousin and study English for 9 months. I ended up extend my visa 2 times and got my MBA in information system. With cum laude. And that I was working while in school in a lot of restaurants. That's where I met my husband. We were working in the same restaurants in the early 90s, and the owner was about to open another restaurant and asked us to be a small, partner. So I was young and fun and like to create things. And I told the owners that the food here need to be similar to the California style design restaurants. So I was put in an idea and sharing with the owners and creating the menu and the food with the chef, working with the chef. Since then, it's probably my transitions from my computer field to the food. Mm-hmm. And I ended up knowing that I love cooking. So that's all I've been doing for the last 30 years, cooking.
It's amazing. And so, so you were talking about sort of incorporating these different flavors and sort of really like, at Bangkok Joe's, when you look at the menu, there's lots of flavors from other Asian cuisines as well. And you have a dumpling bar also, don't you?
Yes, it's all in the concept of Thai street food, because it's like in Thailand, the food stalls everywhere is either grill or steam or rice bowl, noodle bowls. You see that a lot. So when we open Bangkok Joe's, we would have that concept in mind that we want some kind of, upscale but casuals. So we first want to do the satay bar, and then we got changed our minds to do the dumpling, and we were the first dumpling bar in Washington D.C. And we're not doing just like the Chinese dumpling; it's all inspired, unique dumplings that we do here.
And didn't you train with a chef in
No,
Hong
I'm a
Kong?
self-taught. It's
No,
all in common sense
but you
to
mentioned the
me.
dumpling. Didn't you mention the dumpling chef before that you?
Oh, before we opened the Thai restaurant, Bangkok Joe's, I went to Thailand and to train with one of the top chef, dumpling chef in Thailand. It's the first dumpling house in Thailand. It's in the Savoy group. He's from Hong Kong, and we paid to learn. So I learned the basic of Chinese dumpling, and then that got into me to inspire to do our own. Like we have the Thai Panang curry chicken buns that was on the first menu of Bangkok Joe since 2003.
Wow. I know we have some photos of some of your dishes. When we were going back and forth, you kind of mentioned that you had certain concepts, that you had sort of traditional updates and creative twists.
Oh, yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit as we show some photos, maybe?
Yeah, it's like when I first opened my own restaurants. Well, it was in early 90s, and then I opened my Thai in Shillington, THAI in Shillington. It was in 1995, and a couple of years later, I opened Bangkok Joe's. That was the first Bangkok Joe. The picture that you just seen is opened in 2003, and we closed it down after the lease ended. That was beautiful, and we love it so much. And the food is all Thai inspired looking. It's actually some of them, style of my food will be. I will call it update traditionals. That's what we do since my first restaurants, Thai in Shillington in '95. We update the look. By updated, I mean I use pretty much the same ingredients, but I just updated the look. If you had the photo of my previous, that's my current Bangkok
This is the
Joe's.
current one. I think the one.
Yeah, it's a Bangkok Joe. We call it BJ2, Bangkok Joe 2.0. We closed the first one down because the lease is in, and then we reopened it back in 2016 until today.
Joe was asking about the one on the lower right in the first slide. I think he's talking about the dish in that on the bottom right there.
Oh, that's the dumpling. My first dumpling. That's smoked duck, giant smoked duck wonton.
Ooh, yum. So this was the original one, and then the next photos are the current one.
The current one.
A little bit of an update there, right?
Yeah, it's more like casual, it's more like, noodle place, rice bowl. And we also have the NYOJ that I call not your ordinary Joes. Usually because the Joe is average Joe, so we want to try to do. Those are the section that I probably put some of my specialty, something that unusual or something that I have fun. I put it there.
Yeah. So some photos of the food here, forward here. So this is sort of, you're saying this is sort of like
that's the update traditionals.
Yeah,
it's pretty much very traditional. Nobody have seen the top left. We call that tricolor gems. It's actually the King Lama 2 style dumpling. It's all white. The Thailand is called Khanom Jeep Thai. I was working in one of the old hotels in Thailand, just for training. And I saw that they do this Thai Khanom Jeep that I haven't ever seen before, but it's all stuffing with pork. So I know Americans turned off by pork back then in 2003. So I was playing around with it. The pink one, I put shrimps in it. The yellow one, I put crab, and then I leave the pork on the greens. And I also added some sauce because they will say, where's the sauce? For dumpling, need the sauce. So I just created a sauce that go well with it. something like that is updated traditional.
Yeah.
Like the far right, that's the most recent. My Songkran Thai New Year is Thai street banana, the Thai banana, the grilled bananas, and I just updated the look. That's most of my food like that. Pad Thai Layong.
And they're beautiful.
Instead of crab.
For those that are calling in, those dumplings are beautifully colored, pink and yellow and green. That's what
those are
Chef Luli was
special
talking
for
about.
Songkran Thai New Year.
Yeah.
And do we have a next slide?
Yeah.
The next one is
concept, right?
creative. I call that creative because like the khao soi on the top left, that's the dish that I'm going to show you guys today is Bangkok Joe style khao soi. I think I just, be creative and you can just use your imaginations. The second one on the right is the sushi curry shrimps. And the pla tuna, that one we did on the embassy promotion. And I think that's on YouTube too. I had to do pla tuna our style. See the bottom left is the masaman curry roti that we have as a, small dish. Something like that is you just put your creations into it. That's the way I do my food. And I also do something that's fun. I think it's the next one.
I think the next one's actually some fusion stuff here, right?
Oh, the next one is a fusions. I do some fusions. Like the top left, I've been there. It's been there since 90s. Is salmon and rice rolls. I do with jasmine rice, and we've been doing this for a long time. And I know it's right because the Japanese restaurants across the street, always come. Employees always come and order this dish. And later we trade, and we do some I mentioned the baos already. That's Thai chicken bao, and we also have giant lobster hagao. And my customer favorite is my creme brulee. It's the French inspired with Thai herbs. I have tasted with many herbs, and I found out that spicy it kicked the spot. So we did Thai pepper creme brulee with chocolate spoon and candy cilantros. Imagine that those food is in the early 90s, in the mid 90s. And people were, the concept was scare off some critics a little bit. Like, this is not Thai food, none of it assembly Thailand. We did lamb sausage on, lamb isan sausage on a fall, the first menu that we opened. And they even critiques that Thailand doesn't have sausage. Okay. So that was like 30 years ago.
Right.
So and I also did some fun stuff like,
right. So those
it's my style of Thai.
Right.
You just put your imaginations in. Those are fun food. Like,
and you can see
top
just
left,
in the photos how fun they are. I mean,
there's
presentation
like Joe,
with the foams.
Green curry. Is the rice congee with green curry and grilled shrimps, and the second one is duck curry is duck and rice cocktail, French cocktail, plated with the pineapple curry. So something like that. You just use your imagination. Oh, and my favorite one is the bottom left is the boloi Thai coconut sticky rice flour dessert. And I just make it look like it doesn't look like boloi. You won't be able to find the food like this in Thailand. The dish might be boloi. You can find boloi, but your boloi might not look like my boloi.
So you're gonna cook something for us today. Why don't we
Yes, we're gonna do the khao soi today. Okay, let me go to the kitchen. We at the dumpling bar. Okay, let me go to the kitchen and do it real quick. Okay.
Absolutely. And Joe is commenting, he really loves your take on the Thai sweet savory dessert flavor profile there. He also says that it looks like if Le Bernardin made Thai dessert. Your stuff is very, very elegant. I don't know if you're familiar with Le Bernardin, but it's a very fancy restaurant here in New York. And
okay, can you see me
we can see you. Yeah. So this khao soi is very special to you as well, right? This is a little bit different than maybe some people are familiar with.
Khao soi is one of my favorite dish because it's actually one of the popular. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Malika, yeah. hold on, I need a camera inside here. The khao soi is Chiang Mai curry noodles. Okay, we're gonna have a second camera here in the kitchen. Okay, the Chiang Mai curry noodle, because I want to do this dish because it's reminding me what camera I'm on.
I think this is good here. This is a good.
You can see me here better, right?
Yeah, I think it might be
Okay.
a little too difficult to do the two cameras. I think this is good.
Okay. It's because it's remind me of my grandmothers. My grandmothers from Chiang Mai, and this dish is the national dish of Chiang Mai. It's actually the Chinese Muslim dish. It's from Yunnan, China, that came down to the northern part of Thailand, which is Chiang Mai, and Burma and Laos. This is one got influence. And my mom would cook it. Well, I call her mom. She raises me, and we love this so much. And she always cook it with no coconut milk. That's the traditional one. The khao soi will cook with no coconut milk. And then Thai has adapted to add coconut milk in later. And also the noodles was made from rice flour and made into a sheet. That's the name come from. Khao is mean Thai is rice. So it's made with rice flours and made into a sheet, and then they will cut it up. That's what the soy means. It's julienne, cut it up. And later Thai changed it to yellow noodles. Okay. I'm gonna show you how to do it real quick. It's actually pretty easy. If you have all the ingredients, I'll just gonna put everything
in the blender there.
In the magic of the blender. Okay.
Aha.
Yes. Well, in the old days, this dish, we don't have the curry paste available. So I do it from the scratch. And that dish was critiqued by None of It Assembly Thailand in 1995 because no other restaurants was offered in the East Coast. Well, right now we got the magic of the, innovations and importer stuff. So we got
Right.
a lot more ingredients into it. So those make your life a little bit easier. But I also added, the herbs to make it more authentic. Okay, this is a curry, yellow curry paste. I'll use about 2 tablespoons in here, and then I will add first is the lemongrass, and then I have garlic. It's also 2 cloves. And if you guys interested in the recipe, I narrow this down to the, you can make this at home easily. And this is the turmeric, the fresh turmeric. Let me show you the difference between turmeric and the galangal. This is the turmeric is small one, okay?
Right.
And the galangal is the giant one. It's the same family with the ginger, but it have different aroma to it. And we usually use in a tom kha and in a curry paste. Okay.
You have turmeric when everything's stained orange, right? Or yellow.
Yes. Right. Yeah. You need that. And it's also good for you, all these herbals. Okay. And we use cilantro roots actually, but here in the States, most of the cilantros came without roots. So why not? We use the stem. That's fine. Okay. And we use shallots too. Those are actually in the curry paste. And here comes the pepper, okay, to make the curry spicy. Well, on this is like made for 2. So 1 pepper should be enough. But if you like spicy, you can add more, okay? But I just gonna put like 1 medium ones in here. And some coconut milk. I'll use about 2 cups of coconut milk in here. Okay. We use coconut creams in the curry, and we'll use coconut milk, the lighter one, on the soup and the dessert. Okay. All right, and then that's it. You just put, if you have all the ingredients, you just put everything in the blender with the magic of the blend. Boom, you got the curry paste. Okay, it's fast forward. All right, here we go. Yes, and then we're gonna cook this curry paste. Okay. There we go. we're gonna cook the curry paste to make it thinner, like so.
And probably all the aromas are released as well when you're cooking it.
Yeah. Let me see. We're gonna cook the curry paste, and you just season the curry. That's the point. Okay, you just want to season the curry paste. Okay. Let me tell you the trick. Some of the restaurants, most of the restaurants will serve this curry paste with the chicken. Okay. When you cook the traditional, we use chicken leg, chicken thigh, chicken quarters, what have you. If you use the chicken, most of the recipe will tell you to cook it in the curry paste like this. But my suggestion, you will cook it in the light coconut milk with a little bit of salt first, because the chicken releases a lot of juice. If you cook in the curry paste, it's dilute down a lot of curry paste and you cannot control it. So you cook in separate pots, the chicken, and then you just add the chicken to, when it's cook it like almost well done, you can just put it on the curry paste. Okay, and add some juice from the chicken, a little bit of the coconut juice. That make it better. So here at Bangkok Joe, we do with beef brisket. So I don't have juice from the beef, then I will add some waters. Same coconut milk and waters to dilute it. Okay, and you just want to season your curry, right? Here I have some salt. I usually like to use salt in my curry, and I also want some authenticity. So I will add a little bit of fish sauce in here too. And the sugar, it will be nice to add the sugars to round out the flavors. This is a very big flavor dish. Okay, you have all the spice, all the flavorful spice in it. Okay, and you just want to simmer this.
And Chef Aulie, you did say brisket, right? Sometimes it's made with beef brisket.
Yes, it's the beef brisket. I'll show you in a minute. Okay.
Wow.
It has been roasted for 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So we do have just a few more minutes left. I know we're right in the middle. Oh, look at that.
It's actually a very big piece, and I will cut it up.
Okay.
And we just need to use some noodles, right? I usually slide it thin first, and then we'll cut it like this.
Oh my gosh.
And that's like 1 order we do here. Okay.
Wow.
And you just want to boil some water and cook the noodles. Okay. There's 2 types of noodles, of wonton noodles, the big one and the small one.
And if you guys can turn the, if you could turn the phone, there we go. Yeah, we just wanted to see more of this.
The curry, the noodle has 2 types, the bigger one and the small one. The bigger one, I would prefer for khao soy because it's hold up well with the curry, with the thick curry. The smaller one I use to fry them and for the, crispy, because this have a lot of textures and flavor of dish. The textures is a lot. I'll plate it for you so you see how it looks like actually. Okay. I already have done boiling the noodles. You just want to put the noodles on here. And you want to put your beef right onto the plate.
Wow.
So I'm going to make it fast forward, okay? I just going to pour it in.
It looks fantastic.
Make it fast better.
Oh.
Okay. And then you just need some things to go on top, right?
Of course.
Here, usually some people will serve it on the side. You can use red onions or shallots, what have you. I'll use onions. And this is pickled mustard. It's make a sour taste to it, but you can also add some lime. I do both because the lime is also add the freshness to it. And this is the extra that we put the onsen egg. Yes, it's outside of Bangkok Joe. We put the onsen egg to it.
Oh, wow.
It's a Japanese onsen egg. So it add the extra creamy to the dish. Right. And also you want to put the crispy noodles on top. I fry up the little ones, the little noodles, and we'll put it on top and garnish it with the
Oh my
cilantro.
gosh, this
Yes.
looks so delicious. I mean,
And another thing that you cannot miss is
Yes.
this chili paste. We made our own chili. Let's go with it. These two are served on the side. So people should squeeze some limes and add some of the chili, cooked in shallot oil. Very nice, very spicy.
Wow.
So this is the plate of khao soi, Bangkok Joe.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Cindy was asking about that's a chicken egg, of course. It's just a regular chicken egg, Japanese
yes,
style.
the chicken eggs that have been forced for 40 minutes in about 150 degrees water bar.
Okay. And one more question before we go to outside Baltimore. Joe wants to know if you think Americans are ready for a Thai seafood grill restaurant.
You asking me?
I guess so. Yes, he's asking. Do you think Americans are ready?
Thai seafood restaurants?
Seafood grill.
Seafood grill, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great because it's but on the East Coast, like maybe further on Maryland side, would be easier to get a fresh crab and seafood. We would love some, to have the grilled seafood, like in Thailand, the big shrimp, so I can do sushi prawn easily. Ooh. And just spicy dipping sauce. Oh, make me mouth watering.
So before we go, we'd love to see you hold the khao soi for us so we can get a good view of you. This is a dish that's near and dear to your heart with your own little twists, and I think really speaks to what you're doing at Bangkok Joe's, and it's amazing. So I know that I'm ready for.
It's a customer favorite, and I can't take this out. It's been here since 2003.
Yeah,
almost 20 years.
So, as we can see. Well,
and the critics would say this is non-assembly none of it assembly Thailand. Can you believe that? That was 30 years ago, and now people are more adventurous to try more global cuisine, and I believe that Thai food will make a way to 5,000 and counting.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having me.
Mouth-watering, but our pleasure. Thank you. And we've dropped all your info into the chat so people will find their way down to Bangkok Joe's. I say down.
Yeah, you'd be at Washington Harbor
in New York. Could be up if you're calling from further south. But anyway, so thank you so much.
Okay, all right.
And now we're running a little behind, but we are heading to Towson, Maryland, to meet Sireenuch Tengamnuary, who is the owner of a few restaurants. We're going to be joining her at Absolute Thai-Sushi, but she also owns Thai Landing, which is in the process of moving, but in Baltimore itself. So welcome to the program, Sireenuch. Are you there?
Yes. Hi
there,
Brian.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah.
So thank you so much. So you're calling us from your new location, right? This is the second location of Absolute Thai-Sushi.
Right. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you came here. Also from Bangkok, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I am from Bangkok. And actually, I came to the US about 20 years ago. Yeah, to study my master's degree in accounting. Yeah, and then didn't think about much of the cooking because my family is not really support for that. So yeah, but when I came here, I start. Okay, that it happened that my Thai Landing is very close to my university. It's just across the street, and by that time, Thai Landing is one of the most popular Thai restaurant in town. So I always want to work there as a student, but it's very hard to get in there. So and I end up working for Thai Landing competitor in state, which is also very awesome. I developed some skill of cooking a little bit, kind of learn a little bit. Yeah. So then, but after I graduate, so I decided to pursue my career in accounting and move around from Baltimore to DC and to Philadelphia, and then come back and to get a full-time job in DC. Yeah, that's how, that it's kind of, missing a little bit like about like restaurant. But then I think on that year had like a huge snowstorm about like 10 years ago. Have a really huge snowstorm and the whole city like shut down. So and a friend of mine, and we have nothing to do. So and a friend of mine called and said, oh, Thailanding is available. So maybe we should do something. Yeah. So my sister and I and a very good friend of mine, so we decided to do that together. So that's how.
Yeah. And I forgot to ask you to describe yourself for people that are calling in, and describe where you are for us. Just what you look like.
What
just for people that are calling in that aren't able to see you, if you could just describe what you look like for us. Like I'm a white male wearing glasses, dark hair.
And like a small girl, have a big dream. Yeah, something like that.
And you're calling us from the restaurant. Behind you are the glasses. Behind the bar, I guess.
Yeah, behind the bar. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the lighting is a little better, I think. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, and so you bought Thailanding with your sister, and so Thailanding is just recently in the process of moving to a new location, and
right.
Then you opened this new restaurant in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Yes, it's in the middle of the pandemic. Actually, the lease finished last year. Yeah, like in the middle of the pandemic, and then but we discussed with the landlord before about the future. Yeah, and then it's like we couldn't agree on a lot of things, so we decided not to renew the the lease. And we got a lot of offers, yeah, like to open the new like to the new location, yeah. So and then we choose Towson because it's like it's not so far away from the old place, and has it's like kind of vibrant. The town is growing. The parking is very good. Yeah. So and then after that, I also got another offer to open like Thai landing at Belvedere Square Market, which is like a big, like one of the most popular food hall in still in Baltimore City.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we decided to do that. We're going to open. So Thai landing will be reopen again in a few months. Yeah, at the Belvedere Square Market.
Great, but Absolute Thai-Sushi is sort of a fusion. You're doing You're doing Thai food,
yeah.
and you're doing some sushi. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, because we actually own another successful award-winning sushi restaurant in Baltimore City. It's called Hiro Poke and Sushi. Yeah, it's open for like 5 years now, and that place is very popular. People know us, like So yeah, so it's kind of like when we doing it here. Originally we want to do just Thai food because that's what the landlord want. But then the COVID happened, so we think about okay, maybe we should do like both. So because we want to get like small kitchen in two places and doing, and since we have a lot of experience in sushi, and the some Japanese, so we want to be like best Thai and best sushi here in Towson. Yeah. So that was the goal. Yeah.
Well, and you're going to do some cooking for us, or your chef is going to do some cooking for us, right?
Right. Yeah.
Today. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to cook, and let's head over to the kitchen. We're running a little behind, and I know the restaurant is going to open soon, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we can do the cooking now. So okay, I get my chef here. Okay, should I turn around? So
Yeah, I think you should turn the camera around so we can. The chef is all set up here.
okay, yeah, sure. All right, just a second. ทำดังเส้นเลยอะดังไปไหน
So yeah, and this new location of Absolute Thai-Sushi is actually you have to push the button to turn it around. It's located inside a mall, a shopping mall.
Right.
Which I don't know. When I used to go as a kid, or when I go to shopping malls now, I don't expect to see food of this quality there.
Okay.
It's
So okay, just a little bit about my chef. Yeah, here's my chef chef art Suchai Binwang. Yeah, he's from Chiang Mai. So but he actually he's a very good sushi chef. Yeah. So what he gonna do today is like one of our classic menu is drunken noodle.
drunken noodle.
Yeah, but the drunken noodle we made is like kind of like the southern style. So it's different to the other place. Yeah, like we made the noodle first, and then and then we make the sauce, with the mint chicken and
Are
put
you
on top of that. Yeah.
Are you able to put the camera a little bit closer to the pan? Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Now everyone's saying how hungry they are. Now they're really hungry. The closer we get. Oh yes, even better. And so we see that cooking. So he's starting with the.
Yeah, he making the like the sauce with the mint chicken. It's kind of like a stir fry mint chicken with garlic and chili.
Okay.
If this is pretty much like a pad kra prao in Thailand. It's like very simple dish, but the customer love so much. So we for over 30 years, this one is like most popular. So
Sure. And you said you cook the noodles separately, so then you add them in towards the end, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that. Okay.
Added some Thai basil. Is that?
Yeah. It's Thai basil and that.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can sort of smell the food and salivate for it. And so in the separate wok here.
Yeah. we actually do like in one wok, but this time we do separate. Yeah,
oh, okay. You're doing it separately for us today.
So yeah.
Great.
But
and these are flatter noodles, correct?
Right, yeah, like a rice noodle.
Rice noodles.
Yeah, and then we cook it with some soy sauce, and then.
Of course. And you said this is one of the most popular dishes here.
Yeah, this is one of the most popular, but I decided to choose this dish because it's, it's simple and it's like show who we are. This recipe like bring a lot of customer for us for over 30 years. So
and so this is a recipe from both Thailanding and at Absolute Thai.
And Absolute Thai, yeah. So
this is a staple.
Yeah, we think about to change to something else, but eventually, we just go back to this one. Yeah. So and then
So there we go. So that's it's fully plated, and you're adding the the chicken stir fry there.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
This way is like the southern style. So if you go to Bangkok or some other place, people cook drunken noodle in the different style. Yeah, and and we have another dish with the chef Adun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chef Adun Sameh. He from Phuket. Yeah, Yeah, so he making cow soy. You know, our cow soy is actually is created by um, one of the chefs that we brought from Thailand, and it's so great because this is the way that people like eat, you know, make in Thailand. Yeah.
So yeah, you really do have chefs from both ends of the country, from the north and from the south here. So
Yes, yeah, we really love to do that. Yeah, and that the chef make som tam. Yeah.
yeah. So Joe had a question. Do you know why they call it drunken noodles?
Um,
Oh, we might have lost your audio
yeah,
there.
I think because of its
It's very hot, you know, and our restaurant opened like 30 something years ago. Like we are the first restaurant that opened in the city, right? So and then the original chef and the owner, she's from the south, yeah,
Okay.
and she create this dish, yeah. So and the customer is, I mean, have a choice to select how spiciness of the dish. So and you know we make very spicy, yeah. So and that's and I think that
And it makes you drink
that's
more.
why like
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. We also we're running just about out of time here. I think we're a little past time. These dishes are beautiful, with the crispy noodles on top, and the it's fantastic. We also have some. There's more food coming. I feel like we're at a buffet here.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah, this is this is hat yai fried chicken. Yeah, that we do. Yeah, it's very popular, like in Thailand, and in here, like when we first bought in here, it's like one of the most best seller. Yeah, so like
Is
we
that
sell a
sticky
lot of that.
rice in the bag
Yes.
with it?
Yeah, there's a sticky rice in the bag. Yeah, it used to be in the like a banana leaf, but yeah, but we didn't do it today, and now it's a COVID, so yeah, you know, like that. Yeah.
Well,
So,
these are absolutely hunger inducing. I think everybody is ready for lunch at this point, and I know you guys are getting ready to open for lunch.
right.
So was there what these are beautiful and really was there something else or there
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
need
we
to be?
have. Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay,
have
there is.
yeah som tam isan. Yeah, this is a new recipe. So yeah, we put
Oh.
some of the sauce like in northeastern style.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. This is the
yeah, this
papaya salad.
papaya salad. Yeah, but we make like the in the like the northeastern.
Yeah. So we really do have like almost all the regions of I think we do have all the
southern
regions of
style.
Thailand
You
here,
know,
don't we?
this is
The north, the
cow.
northeast, the
It's
south.
not. Yeah, it's northern,
Oh,
and this
right.
one is like a you
Bangkok.
know, like a south. Yeah, Bangkok and southern. So yeah.
Well, I love the variety here. It looks just wonderful. So, Sireenuch, thank you so much for joining us today. If there's any other questions before we go, anyone can drop them into the chat box. I want to. Oh, and maybe Sireenuch, if you want to turn your camera around so we can see you again, maybe with the food. This is really wonderful. Thank you. We've dropped in the info
Thank
for
you
both
so much.
Thai Landing and Absolute Thai-Sushi. So when people are in the Baltimore, DC area, we've got lots of food to eat. Thank you both. Thank you, Sireenuch and Chef Aulie, for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
And a special thanks to Dr. Mark Padoongpatt for that fascinating interview and his incredible book that you all must check out. And thank you again to Thai Select USA for sponsoring these programs and making them possible. Be sure to check out our interactive map, as I mentioned, to learn more about the Thai communities and restaurants that we're discussing and then others in the Northeast region. And next Wednesday, we'll be back and we're visiting the outer boroughs of New York City to discuss communities and family recipes with Joe DiStefano and 2 other restaurants. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone. And thank you, chefs. Thank you so much.